December 2nd, 1999. 5 a.m. Elizabeth, New Jersey. Across the state, 40 federal agents were already moving. Simultaneous arrests. Doors open hard in Elizabeth, Newark, Staten Island. Men pulled from beds in front of their families. It was the single largest takedown of a New Jersey crime family in history. At the center of it all, one name. Vincent Palermo, 55 years old, born in Brooklyn, son of an Italian immigrant. Altar boy, fish market worker. The man the FBI had quietly come to regard as the real boss of New Jersey's only homegrown mafia family. The man that millions of Americans, without knowing it, had been watching on HBO every Sunday night. If you're enjoying this deep dive into the story, hit the subscribe button and let us know in the comments from where in the world you are watching from today. Because just 9 months earlier, The Sopranos had premiered, and Palermo's own crew, recorded on FBI wiretaps they didn't know were running, had already started asking each other the obvious question. Is that supposed to be us? Every show you watch, more and more, you pick somebody. There's a pork store. Yeah, in Jersey, right? They got a topless joint over there. Jesus. They had no idea how close they were to the truth, or how close they were to the end. New York had the 5 families. Chicago had the outfit. But New Jersey, sitting right across the Hudson, rich with ports, unions, and political connections, was, for most of the 20th century, ungoverned. A patchwork of competing crews and New York spillover. No single boss. No real structure. That changed in the 1960s with Simone DeCavalcante, Sam the Plumber, a Brooklyn-born, Trenton-raised mafioso who ran a plumbing supply store in Kenilworth as a front and organized New Jersey's rackets like no one before him. He secured 60 made members, territory across the tri-state area, and a seat on the American Mafia's governing commission. At his peak, his family was pulling in an estimated $20 million a year from illegal gambling alone. The FBI knew it. They planted a bug in his office in 1961 and recorded him for 4 years. Conversations about murders, commission politics, corrupt politicians. 2,300 pages of transcripts. Federal officials called the DeCavalcante papers as significant as anything Joe Valachi had ever told them. DeCavalcante was convicted in 1969, served time, and retired to Florida in the late 1970s. He left behind a structure, and a man named Giovanni Riggi, John the Eagle, to run it. Riggi expanded the family's reach into construction and labor unions through the 1980s, cultivated a close relationship with Gambino boss John Gotti, and for a decade made the DeCavalcantes more powerful than they had ever been. Then Riggi was convicted in 1989, sentenced to 12 years, and the family entered the turbulent period that would eventually produce Vincent Palermo. Vincent Palermo was born June 4, 1944, in Brooklyn. His father was an Italian immigrant. The early years were unremarkable. A close-knit Italian family, Sunday Mass, an altar boy. When he was 16, his father died. Palermo dropped out of school and took 2 jobs to support his mother, who was a bedridden asthmatic. One of those jobs was at the Fulton Fish Market. That's where the name came from. Vinny Ocean. Not threatening, not cinematic, just a nickname that stuck. In the early 1960s, Palermo married the niece of Sam DeCavalcante himself. It was a marriage that changed everything. DeCavalcante took a liking to his young nephew by marriage and started bringing him around, to the social club, to the men. Palermo observed. He learned to keep quiet, to trust few people, to stay away from the social clubs where the FBI liked to set up their equipment. He cultivated relationships carefully. A loansharking operation with a Gambino capo. Bookmaking connections. Ties to the Genovese family. He built his strip clubs in Elizabeth. He ran his gambling operation. And he did all of it without leaving a trail. Before his eventual racketeering indictment, the only arrest on Palermo's record was for stealing shrimp at the Fulton Fish Market. A misdemeanor. The FBI barely knew his name. That invisibility was deliberate. Palermo had watched Sam DeCavalcante build something and then watched the FBI dismantle it because DeCavalcante had been too comfortable talking, too visible. Vinny Ocean was not going to make that mistake. He was formally made, inducted as a full member, in 1977. For the next decade, he operated beneath the radar, methodically, without incident. September 11, 1989, a man named Fred Weiss walked out of his girlfriend's condominium in Staten Island and got into his car. He never left the parking lot. Weiss was a former newspaper reporter turned real estate developer who had gotten tangled up with organized crime through an illegal medical waste dumping scheme in Staten Island. When local authorities discovered it and began investigating, Gambino boss John Gotti became nervous. If Weiss cut a deal with prosecutors, the Gambinos would be exposed. Gotti sent a request to DeCavalcante boss Riggi, handle it. 3 men were assigned. Vincent Palermo was one of them. Anthony Capo was another. Jimmy Gallo drove. They waited outside the condominium. When Weiss reached his car, Palermo and Gallo shot him. He was hit 7 times. He died at the scene. It was the first confirmed murder Palermo participated in. It earned him a promotion, elevated to capo, with his own crew of soldiers and associates. His operation now included the strip clubs, the gambling, the loansharking. He was, by any measure, established. And then everything around him began to fall apart. Riggi went to prison that same year. His replacement as acting boss, John D'Amato, was murdered in January 1992, shot in the back seat of a car after his girlfriend told other family members he had been frequenting swinger clubs in Manhattan and engaging in homosexual activity. In the mafia's rigid social code, that was disqualifying. D'Amato was killed before the New York families could find out. Palermo was among those who planned it. D'Amato's successor, Giacomo Amari, died of stomach cancer in 1997. With Amari gone, Riggi, still in prison, restructured. He created a ruling panel of 3 men to jointly run the family. Vincent Palermo, Girolamo Palermo, no relation, and a capo named Charles Maggiore. It was designed to prevent a power struggle. It triggered one. January 10, 1999. The Sopranos premiered on HBO. The show followed Tony Soprano, a heavy-set, conflicted New Jersey mob boss managing panic attacks, therapy, a difficult marriage, and the pressures of running a crime family as the old rules broke down. His crew operated out of the Bada Bing, a strip club in North Jersey. The official boss sat in prison. Tony ran the family from the street. David Chase, the show's creator, later said roughly 90% of The Sopranos was fictional and that it drew broadly from multiple real New Jersey criminal worlds, particularly the Boiardo crew out of Newark. Chase never publicly named a single person as the direct model for Tony Soprano, but the parallels to Palermo were hard to ignore. New Jersey setting, strip club operation, a capo who became de facto boss while the official boss sat in prison, a family being eaten alive by its own informants. Even the show's acting boss dying of stomach cancer mirrored the real death of DeCavalcante acting boss Jake Amari. If you find this story engaging, please take a moment to subscribe and enable notifications. It helps us continue producing in-depth content like this. The DeCavalcante family noticed. In March 1999, FBI wiretaps captured 4 family members in a car, driving to a sit-down, talking about the show. Anthony Rotondo was heard laughing about the similarities. He noted the strip club, the Jersey setting, the pork store, the acting boss who died of cancer. He said what they were all thinking. Every show you watch, more and more, you pick somebody. Those recordings were later played in open federal court. The DeCavalcante family had confirmed their connection to the show, not knowing that as they drove and talked, the FBI was hearing every word. It was the story inside the story. The real mob, watching the fictional mob, not realizing the real story was almost over. While The Sopranos aired its first season, Palermo was managing a crisis that would have felt familiar to any viewer of the show. Charles Maggiore, the third man on the ruling panel, had decided the arrangement needed simplifying. He approached soldier Jimmy Gallo and contracted him to murder both Vincent Palermo and Girolamo Palermo. Remove them, and Maggiore would control the family. Gallo told Vinny Ocean everything. Palermo moved fast. He recruited Anthony Capo, Gallo, and his trusted Lieutenant Joseph Masella to find Maggiore and kill him. They surveilled his house. They sat outside waiting. A police car was parked nearby. The hit fell through, but the deeper threat was already inside the walls. Ralph Guarino was a DeCavalcante associate, trusted, present in the right rooms, who had been arrested in 1998 in connection with the theft of $1.6 million from a Bank of America branch inside the World Trade Center. Rather than face 20 years, he went to the FBI. The Bureau gave him cell phones rigged with surveillance equipment and sent him back in. Guarino was so useful that, With the FBI quietly helping his status rise, Palermo promoted him to full-made member of the family after the murder of Joseph Masella in October 1998. The man Palermo trusted enough to make a member of his family was feeding everything to the Bureau. In 1999, Guarino recorded Palermo discussing the proposed murder of another man. That recording gave prosecutors what they needed. On December 2, 1999, Palermo and 39 others were arrested in a single coordinated sweep. The charges covered multiple murders, attempted murder, extortion, loansharking, bookmaking, robbery, and mail fraud. Some charges carried the possibility of the death penalty under New Jersey law. Vincent Palermo was 55 years old. He had spent 30 years building something. In one morning, it was gone. This is where the real story and the fictional one split completely. Tony Soprano spent 6 seasons refusing to become a government witness. It was his defining line, the thing he would not do. The show built its entire moral architecture around that refusal, Tony's loyalty, his code, his unwillingness to betray the world he came from, even as it consumed him. The cut to black in the finale left his fate deliberately unresolved. But the implication was that Tony went down on his own terms. The real Tony Soprano flipped. Several weeks after his arrest, Vincent Palermo agreed to cooperate with federal prosecutors. He pleaded guilty to 4 murders and 7 murder conspiracies. He confessed to the killing of Fred Weiss. He confessed to the killing of former underboss Louis Larasso. He admitted to planning the murders of John D'Amato, Joseph Masella, and others. He implicated other DeCavalcante family members across a catalog of organized crimes. The testimony was devastating. A second wave of arrests in October 2000 brought in 12 more men, based directly on Palermo's cooperation. DeCavalcante underboss Stefano Vitabile was convicted in part through what Palermo told prosecutors. By 2001, 20 additional mobsters had been charged with racketeering, 7 murders, 14 murder conspiracies, attempted murder, extortion in the construction industry, and Wall Street fraud. The family's entire leadership structure was dismantled. In exchange, Palermo and his family entered the Federal Witness Protection Program. A new name, a new city, a new life. The boss of New Jersey's only homegrown mafia family, the man whose world had been dramatized for Sunday night television, whose crew had laughed on FBI wiretaps about seeing themselves on screen, was erased. In September 2009, the New York Daily News published a story that blew Palermo's cover entirely. The former boss of the DeCavalcante family, living under a new identity provided by the Witness Protection Program, had been operating strip clubs in Houston, Texas, under the name James Cabela. There were lawsuits. A business partner alleged he had defaulted on a $1.3 million promissory note, having made only 2 of the promised weekly payments. Prosecutors also discovered that Palermo had allegedly given his son Michael $1 million in cash, a transfer that potentially jeopardized his protected status. By 2013, Vincent Palermo filed for bankruptcy. The man who had ordered murders to protect his organization from disloyalty was broke in Texas, being sued in civil court over a strip club payment plan. The Sopranos ended with a cut to black. No answer. Deliberate ambiguity. David Chase gave his audience a question. The real world had already answered it. The actual man Tony Soprano was drawn from did not die protecting his code. He did not go out in the kind of moment that television makes meaningful. He sat down across from federal prosecutors and told them everything he knew. He survived. He was relocated. He went broke in Houston. That is not a poetic ending, but it is an honest one. Because the thing The Sopranos spent 6 seasons examining, whether a man like Tony could hold his loyalty together when everything around him collapsed, was a question the real world had answered before the show even finished its first season. When the walls close in, most men choose survival. Vinny Ocean was no different. He was just the boss. Thank you for watching. For more detailed historical breakdowns, check out the other videos on your screen now and don't forget to subscribe.